Hey crew, how are we doing today? Welcome back to another installment of the politics of Kendra. Da 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 da. Okie doke, so I just got back from an audition where I played a chipper. Mind the chipper. I've been playing golf for a few years, I suppose, and by that I mean I used to play when I was younger, and now I have some golf clubs, but I've got years of softball experience, so it's pretty much the same thing. You keep your mind on your mentality and the mentality on the game. I had a friend who I was talking to earlier today say, yeah, the last time I went golfing, I almost shot a hole-in-one, but I just missed by 2 strokes, and I go, oh, you mean that you hit par? And he was like, okay, I see that you know the game a bit more than I thought you did. Today we're going to be talking about the silver lining, which I think maybe that's a great metaphor for it. Instead of saying, I shot par, one says, I almost got a hole-in-one. The idea of hitting a hole-in-one is very interesting too, because it's so much, like I mentioned earlier, a mentality thing. Thinking the long game, thinking the short game, thinking from the fairway, from the slice, from all the different perspectives, as if you're a bird, but keeping your mind just on that one singular effort, which is getting the golf ball in the hole. And who knows where the rabbit hole leads. So the way that I came up for this idea of silver lining, or rather the gold lining, or the platinum lining, is in a few different respects. So like I've mentioned multiple times, I recently moved into a new apartment. I love it here. So there's a few different things that led me to moving to this new apartment. I want to give a shout out to OhhMyAnnie, who's another YouTuber who moved into a luxury apartment and documented her manifestation of that experience and that move, and it was very inspirational, and it added a little bit of that extra spark in the fire that I needed to inhabit where I want to inhabit. Okay, so the previous apartment that I lived in was in a really quiet neighborhood in Burbank, but for some reason it was so F-word loud in my apartment. Not outside the apartment, not in the courtyard, not in the parking area, inside my apartment. And you want to know why? It's because it was like built in the 1970s or something, and every single time my upstairs neighbor walked around, I could hear it. I could hear where they were in their apartment. I swear to you, they were tap dancers and heavyweight lifters, and they walked around in clogs. I think they were from Holland, and they had wooden clogs. Okay, so that being said, this one day, I just was like literally at my wit's end, and I told the universe, I said, okay, universe, I'm getting the message that you want me to move in to a new apartment when my lease is up. If I've gotten this message correctly, and I promise to move no matter what, if I've gotten this message correctly, please let my neighbors just stop being so loud. And then the next day I went over to my apartment management office and I was like, hey, you guys, I'm at my wit's end. I mean, my upstairs neighbors are waking me up starting at 6 a.m. And then they seem to stay up at night too. One takes a night shift when one is sleeping, and the other one wakes up early to do the early morning clogging. And they're like, okay, guess what? They are moving out at the end of the week. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. So I thank the universe, like I mentioned, I said, okay, cool, I got the message. If I've gotten the message that I need to move to a new apartment, please let the noise stop. Please let my upstairs neighbors be quiet. And the next day I got confirmation that by the end of the week, they would be quiet. That lasted for about a month till someone else moved in, but right when someone else moved in, I moved into this new place. So that would be the silver, gold, platinum lining that I'm talking about, is realizing a situation, assessing it, hearing what the universe, God, source is saying to you and saying, cool, I received this message. If this is the message, thank you for validating my assumption in advance, and please validate my assumption. Da, 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 da. Cross your T's and dot your I's. Check your boxes. Check your inboxes. Okay. And then the second, second silver lining scenario that I have for you is, okay, so I've been taking improv acting class at Groundlings Theater here in Los Angeles. Groundlings Theater is known for training a lot of like famous SNL people and Mad TV people who came up and are really, really funny. Groundlings is known for their improv and sketch comedy training. It is such a fun experience. I've been doing improv acting for absolutely so many years, and I love the idea of improv acting. I think it relates to spirituality in many different facets, in the way of, the first rule is you always say yes to your scene partner and you add to it. So you say yes and you're like, wow, what a wonderful idea, let me add to it. So it's like built-in positivity when you relate it to like spirituality and life. And then the second rule would be to make your scene partner look good, which I also think is really great in spirituality, because whenever you're with someone else, you always want to shine a good light on them. And then the third rule is, if you make a mistake, it's not a mistake, it's the best thing you've ever done, and you take a clown bow. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the tomatoes. They're roses to me. And you do a clown bow, and then you proceed to the next scene. And that also adds in the idea of what I'm talking about right now. Silver, gold, platinum lining. You learn something and you proceed with the scene. So I was taking improv classes. I'm still taking improv classes. I'm just on a little break right now on their core track. So I was like I mentioned, I've been taking improv and acting and training for years and years and years and years. But for some reason I was like having this little snag where like, and I'm a writer. So it's like you make up things on the spot in improv, and I'm like, guess what? In the beginning was the word, and I can just come up with like all this different mumbo jumbo, ain't no time to stash the gumbo type thing off the top of my head. But for some reason I was just like snagging. Like I wasn't necessarily nervous when I got up there, but I was like, for like a class or two. And I mean, it wasn't like I was just up there with a blank stare, but let's just say my characters were a little bit more dumbfounded that they were then intelligible for those 2 weeks. So I get in my car after class and I'm like, universe, I'm getting the message that you'd like me to start taking like regular dramatic acting classes and going out for regular dramatic acting auditions, theatrical auditions, meaning not just improv, but scripted scene work, scripted work, and like structured material with words and beat changes and pre-written material, you know, like true theatrical acting, blah, blah, blah. Improv is true theatrical acting too. But like I mentioned, improv is something that you come up with off the cuff of your sleeve. And I said, universe, if I've gotten this message correctly, thank you so much. As well as I will notice that I've gotten this message correctly, because my next acting class will be like a weight of bricks off my shoulder. Next acting class, I'm up there and I'm just like, guess what? I'm the Pied Piper and follow me to freedom. We are driving the snakes out of Ireland. Meaning I was right back on my grind. So I got that universal message as well. Platinum lining. My third example for you today is, so I'm a singer-songwriter, musician, and poet, and guitar player. So I submit myself, I've got a booking agent now who books gigs for me and finds gigs for me, and la-di-da-di-da-di-da. But I also like submit myself and email directly for music festivals and music events straight up. So I applied for this one group, whatever, event, showcase type thing, and they were like, hey, Thank you so much for your submission. We think you're very talented, blah, blah, blah. This is very nice. However, our music section is already booked up for the evening. I was wondering if you would like to do, I went on your website, KendraElizabethMuecke.com, and I noticed under your poetry selections that you're like a really wonderful wordsy poet, and I'd love to book you for a spoken word event rather than for our musical showcase. And I was like, cool, thank you. Like, as a poet, it is honestly such a wonderful delight and treat when people like poetry, and I mean, a lot of people do like poetry, but it's one of those things where it's like a cup of tea. Some people always order coffee, but when they get a cup of tea, they're like, wow, this is really pleasant, especially with the weather like this. So that platinum lining would be me saying to the universe, hey, thank you so much. I'm noticing that you would like me to include spoken word in my musical sets. Meaning, for example, when I perform at the study, at the State Social House on Sunset Boulevard, I will add poetry. I will add at least one or two poems to my musical set for the evening. If I've gotten this message correctly, well, I mean, I actually didn't ask for validation on that one because that one was pretty straightforward. So I just added, oh, okay, great. So I didn't ask for validation, but I got it. I performed my poem, A Series of Self-Joy, at the State Social House that following week, and really people were really paying attention to my poetry, even though it's like a kind of a people talking to each other bar-like atmosphere. Like, people stopped and listened. And I thought, cancel that thought. People stopped and listened, and it was very well received. As well as my poetry's been well received by a few other individuals in that time span from when I noticed that silver lining to now. So I'm including them, both musical and poetry, golf and game. Thank you so much for listening today. I know it was a little bit like a ambly, roundabout way of me talking about everything, or maybe it wasn't. That's the platinum lining of it. You decide. Enjoy. My name is Kendra. Follow me on Instagram at Ken Bunny, Ken Bunny. Listen to my music, Kendra and the Bunnies. I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, etc., etc. If you say my name 3 times in the mirror and spin around with a lit candle, I will show up there. Do not be scared. I think that's all I have to say today. There was one more thing that I had to say, but I can't remember what it is. Okay, cool. Look at the weather today. It's overcast. See you later.